What's up, Leafs fans? Welcome back to another Leaf Station After Dark. I'm Zack, Phillips, and tonight we're going to be breaking down game number 82 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, losing to the Tampa Bay Lightning here tonight, 6-4, moving to 46, 26, and 10 on the season. We'll talk about everything that went on in this game. We'll talk about the way that the season finished and the fact that Austin Matthews finishes with 69 goals and not 70. Arguably better, maybe 69. Nice. Maybe you're not upset. Maybe you're actually going into this one angry into the playoffs about the fact that you only got 69, didn't get to the 70 mark. Ultimately, I saw 6 and a third bring it up. He is right, but at the same time, also wrong in the fact that, yeah, it's 69, not 70. It's one goal. It's not like it's something that you're going to be looking at and saying like, oh, wow, that's terrible. He didn't get that. But at the end of the day, when you go to his hockey DB, you go to his elite prospects, you go to look back at the history of Austin Matthews and his entire career, the body of work that he put together, and you see that season of him scoring 69 and not 70, not having a 70-goal season on the resume, it's going to hurt a little bit. It's going to be something that you kind of look at and go, wow, I wish I had that one more. You know, I saw Carlo Koliakovo tweet out during the game here tonight the fact that the Tampa Bay Lightning had let Steven Stamkos in the season that he had 59 play in the last game of the season, and he scored that final goal to get himself to 60. He never scored 60 again. The next highest that he scored after that was 45. So at the end of the day, when he looks back at his career and we look back at the body of work that Steven Stamkos put together, he's going to sit there and say, thank God I got to 60 that year and not cut off at 59. Thank God I got that one more goal in that final game. That is going to be something that is, you know, it stings. And ultimately, 6 and a third is right in the idea that, like, you got to 69, so it's not like the one goal changes things, but it kind of does just in the perspective of one more from the next plateau, from that next level, from being that player who was 9th all time to get to 70 in the NHL in a single season. Like, those things do matter a little bit. And, you know, ultimately, I think in these games, I mean, 6 saying here, and you know what, 6, I don't know if you're just trying to rattle cages here to start the show because you want to go, then we'll go. But saying, oh, 6 season is done, he scored 69, something to be extremely proud of, for sure. But I think no matter what happens, that the fact that you came up one goal short of the ultimate goal of 70 here, when you got that close, when you had that many chances, it's going to be tough. And 6, you know what? I'm not speaking for Austin Matthews. I'm speaking for fans of the game, because we all look back at Steven Stamkos and the fact that he scored 60, and 60 is better than 59. It just is. 70 is better than 69. So I don't need to speak for anybody there to understand that one more goal rather than one less, it's better. And you know what? Ultimately, it might be kind of funny for everybody to acknowledge the fact that Austin Matthews' goal streak and his pursuit of 70 came up short once 16 went back onto his line. Kind of shocking that the guy who we've all kind of looked at as a perimeter player when it matters the most came back and wasn't able to get it done alongside, you know, the best goal scorer in the NHL, the guy who's winning the Rocket, and just wasn't able to close it out because he also lacks strength, lacks ability to win battles, lacked ability to make good passes, and obviously forced some stuff here tonight that it seemed like Max Domi might have been able to get done. I don't know. Just a hypothetical. Just throwing it out there. Maybe Mitch Marner isn't the player alongside Austin Matthews that everyone would like him to be, which obviously is going to be a concern. So, you know what? Maybe that's a tough one there. It is kind of funny that at the end of the day, Mitch goes onto that line and they go 0 for 2, aren't able to score for Matthews, and he comes up one short of the ultimate goal, because you'd think that Mitch, being the exceptional player and playmaker that everyone says he is, isn't there. So, yeah. 6, you're drawing from what Stamkos thought and said, and not for the fans. Play the tape. 6, you might be out to lunch here, brother. I don't know what you smoked before you came on, but yeah, I don't know. As far as tonight's game goes, look, there's not too much we're going to take away from it. We talked about it with Nick. I listened to Rosie as well on the morning show. and they were talking about last night's game and what tonight's game was going to mean. You're obviously bringing a bunch of guys out of the lineup. No Morgan Riley, no Jake McCabe, no Joel Edmondson. A lot of these things are going to be changing factors. This isn't going to be the lineup that we're going to see in game one. We're hopefully going to see Max Domi back, maybe Calle Yarncroke, Bobby McMahon hopping back into the lineup. So there's a lot of moving parts. And we know that these guys weren't that interested in playing this game here tonight. It doesn't mean that this game wasn't frustrating to watch. There were a lot of breakdowns. TJ Brodie snaps a 111 goal drought, here tonight with his goal that scored on the 6-on-5 on the delayed penalty in the third period. But these guys, TJ Brodie, this guy cannot be on the lineup in game one in the playoffs. This guy is out to lunch. He loses battles, losing guys on the ice, failing to kind of keep other players around just in his vision. It just seems like there's times where he's out there just swimming around, just out there for the sake of being out there, lacking defensive awareness, lacking defensive ability. I have concerns about that. I have concerns about the ability for this power play to get clicking once the playoffs come, when you're going to be forced to the perimeter by teams that play aggressively, because traditionally they've kind of fallen off a cliff a little bit. They've been in a position where they struggle with some of that intensity, they struggle with some of that physical pressure, and they're just not able to get things done. So as far as that goes, I do have some concerns there. And ultimately, I think if you look at one game in a singular sample of, hey, here's how tonight went, it doesn't really matter. Here's how tonight went, it doesn't really matter, because we're approaching the playoffs, and those are what matter. We just want to get out of here healthy. We want to get out of here safe. We want to get to game one. The problem for me becomes when you do it for 5 consecutive games, you start to build up this rep of just not caring and getting yourself into this mindset of maybe building up bad habits and playing to this weaker level, where now all of a sudden you're going to expect the whole team to flip a switch and go to the playoffs ready to go, kind of buzzing here. That kind of concerns me, because basically where this team has been in years past, they've not been able to do that. They've not been able to flip it around. They've not been able to turn things on and just switch up their play style, their mentality on a nightly basis, and then when it matters, be able to do that. When you look at teams like Boston, when you look at teams like Colorado and Vegas and Dallas to an extent, they have built up a history where you could trust them and say that they can do that. G-Mac there saying, call me crazy, but they'll flip the switch and win game one. I hope so, and I'm not going to call you crazy, because that's what I hope as well. But I think based on the entire body of work that we've seen out of this team for year after year after year, it doesn't instill the most confidence in me that they're going to be able to do that here, because they kind of have just fucked off. Like, they've kind of just said, we're out of here. We got a couple super chats I want to get to here, because I don't want to let them get too far. So let's start with the first one. Max NTS Decimus, appreciate the super chat here, Max. Max says, Timmins on the ice 6-on-5 made me hate Keefe more. I think Timmins is your only offensive defenseman that you're going to look at in this situation. So I feel like that's probably not that bad. I don't know what else he would do there, or how else he would change it. So, Max, I appreciate the super chats as always. Respect your opinions, but just in this one, it just feels a little bit like I don't know who else goes out there. Are you going to throw it another forward? It doesn't really make... You're not going to win the game. I don't think anyone's going to go that crazy trying to score. Everyone is also in the real, being fairly realistic about the fact that it's kind of over. You're just trying to get to the playoffs. The game itself isn't that important, so who cares? So, I mean, I just kind of disagree a little bit there, where it's like, I'm not really that upset with how the lineup was put out there to close things out. I don't think it makes that much difference to me. But, I mean, in a normal game, yeah, sure, I would probably agree with you. Not necessarily here tonight. Another super chat here. Jamie Finley. Finley, thank you for watching. Thank you for the super chat. I appreciate it. I'm trying to find this here right now. I don't think I saw it or paid attention to it maybe. He says, what did you think of Kucherov's fit, his pregame fit there? I'm trying to pull this up right now. I'm not seeing a photo of the fit. I don't know if I'm just missing something or if it's on the wrong page that I'm looking at or whatever, but I would imagine the guy was probably dressed pretty well. He seems like he probably has decent style. I'm trying to find it right now. I don't know if the NHL posted it. I don't see anything from Tampa on Twitter or Instagram. So if you've got it, send it to me, Finley. I'll take a look, but I'm not seeing anything. So I would assume he probably had a good fit though. I would assume. But I mean, I guess you shouldn't assume things. You shouldn't assume things. Assumptions make an ass out of you and me. I'm not seeing anything here for Cooch's fit. But probably pretty good. Probably pretty good. Is there a video of this? What am I looking at? All right. Keep it moving. Michael Myers, 78. White button up, chest hair out, no fucks given. If that's how he was ripping, then no shit he scored 100 points here, or 100 assists here tonight, because that kind of pregame fit, it just instills confidence in yourself going into the arena. It tells everybody you're about to put up the 100th assist, and your teammates probably looking at you like, this guy's going to get it the fuck done. So, I mean, I'm in. If that's what it was, then that's pretty electric. Send that over my way, and we'll try to pull that up on screen. Our man Leafs is helping Kucherov get to 100 assists. Yeah, this was a pretty rough defensive performance. Again, I have a hard time evaluating what went on here tonight in terms of when you're going to break it down just one game at a time or just looking at this game solely about what went on, because I think in general, we're just not really concerned with how these games end. But again, to my point, the fact that it's now built up for a number of games consecutively, it feels a little bit different, and it feels to me a little bit more concerning, where I'm going to look and go, I don't know if this is I don't know if this is a team that I can trust to turn things around and change things up once you get to the playoffs and once you get to game one, where all of a sudden you're going to turn it on in your head and you're going to say, hey, we're going to be positionally sound. We're going to finish checks. We're going to win battles in the corners, because the way that they've gone about it for the last 4 or 5 games here has just felt fairly pathetic. It's just felt like there was a lack of effort, a lack of engagement, but on top of that, a lot of sloppiness. We all thought that they were going to be lacking that intensity to a degree, but I don't think we thought that they were going to be like forgetting how to play defense. This felt so different. I'm looking here. We're on a bunch of different platforms, however you want to consume it. If it's on podcasts, where you can find us in the Leafs Nation After Dark after the fact, or if you're watching live on Facebook, on Twitter, on YouTube here. I'm trying to read all the comments and keep up with everything in real time. So if that's how you're kind of consuming this, I am trying to check the best that I can. I appreciate everyone who's watching, and if you are watching, please hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. Now, just quickly looking over at the Facebook comments that we've got for tonight. Alan Walker, 4 and out. I would disagree. I don't know if they make it past the first round, but 4 and out I don't think is happening. I think you're at least getting to 6, even if you're going to lose. Peter Smith, Upside is Boston will get Keefe and Shanny fired quicker, especially with this new ownership. Not impressive. Yeah. I mean, if they don't have a good outing against the Bruins, then I would imagine those guys are probably on their way out the door, so that would be tough. Sean, all the best in the playoffs. Thanks, Sean. Appreciate everyone who's watching on Facebook. Hit the like button. Head over to YouTube there as well. Continuing on, seeing some of the stuff that I'm seeing in the chat here. Moody, 1986. Zach, can you comment on Marner's play? Is he injured? Looks weak and slow. Moody, I don't know. As far as Marner's play goes, there's a lot of guys on this team that I can look at over the last couple of days and say, or last couple of games and say, you know what? It makes sense, because we knew that they were not going to be all in on an effort. We knew they were not going to be digging in and blocking all the shots, going into corner battles the same way that they were going to do elsewhere. The difference for me, which I'm talking about the body of work of these guys, I see a guy like Mitch Marner. I saw comments in the last stream. I saw comments on the videos. I saw comments on the game previews. I see it all over Twitter. I listen to it on radios. I hear it on other shows. Is that Mitch Marner traditionally disappears in the most important time of the year. The thing that pisses me off the most, and I fight with people all the time about, is that they'll look at Marner at the end of a series or an end of a playoff run and be like, oh, well, he was almost point per game in the playoffs. And it's like, well, if you look at the way he played in the most important games, this guy was Houdini out there. He was absolutely gone. He plays perimeter hockey. He does not want to get to the middle. He does not win battles. And the problem with what I've seen out of this guy over the past couple of games, specifically last night and tonight here, was Mitch Marner playing soft hockey where he's playing no look, backhand passes, soft to the middle, spinorama, turnover passes that are just going the other way. And you know what? Every now and then when you see him do that and it ends up on a highlight reel and it's on TSN and Sportsnet tomorrow morning, it's great. It's fun to have that guy on your team. But when he's doing that and not contributing in the other ways, and he's not doing these other things that you need players to do, like you can say that about Kucherov and McDavid and I don't know, give me other skilled, really super skilled players in the league. Nathan McKinnon, where they do these insanely fancy things night in, night out that are going to end up on highlight reels. But you know what else those guys do? They grit down, they block shots, they win battles, they get to the front of the net, and then they're going to engage physically, and they're going to go in there and be involved in the play. They're going to be involved in playoff hockey. Mitch Marner does not do that. He's never done that, and then we thought, hey, maybe we're going to see something different, and over the last 2 games, I basically am sitting here having PTSD of playoffs of years past, where I'm watching this guy do these rinky-dink little passes, and camera cuts to him, and he's got sad face. This is who he is. This is what we've known him to be, and it feels like nothing has changed. So, Moody, as far as we're going to talk about, is he injured, looks weak and slow? I don't know if he's necessarily looked slower to me than I've seen him before, so I can't really make like a huge judgment on that. But as for the weakness, that's who he is, Moody. That's who Mitch Marner is. That's how he's played. That's how he's played throughout his whole career, regular season and playoffs. This guy is a soft, get pushed off the puck type of player. He can make fancy moves, skate around the outside, the perimeter, and dance all he wants, and it's so much easier to do when it comes to the playoffs. But in this situation where you're going to be one of the most lean upon players, you got to find a way to turn it around. You got to find a way to kind of get that next gear, and he just doesn't do that. 6 1/3. You get that sad face when you talk about him, Zack, just saying, no fuck. We pay him $10.93 million. He plays on the top line, and he disappears in the playoffs every year. We want this team to do something, and we come here, and we sit around, and we have a circle jerk holding hands singing Kumbaya at the end of the night because we say, oh, well, Mitchie had 99 points this year. Whoop-de-doo. How fun is it to watch this guy on our team? Who gives a shit? They're not paid for 99 points in the regular season and franchise records of regular season points. You lose in the first round year after year after year after year. So yeah, at some point here, 6, it's just going to get frustrating having to watch this guy do the same thing every single year and then send insiders out via his dad to fight for him to get contracts. So, yes, it's going to get frustrating because he wants to be one of the most respected players. He wants to be one of the most counted on players and one of the guys who's looked at in the eyes of the fan base like he's God. And then when it comes time to be the player that you can depend upon, when it comes time to be the player that you lean on and you can count to carry you through in the most important times of the year, he says, thanks for my $11 million. Double bird to you all. I'm out of here. I'm going to go with my wife to Cabo. Thanks for coming. Thanks for coming. So yeah, when we have these conversations about him, that's what it's going to be. And if he turns things around and he plays incredibly in the playoffs this year, fair enough. kudos to him. We'll come here after every single game and we'll talk about how different he's been and how happy we are with his level of play. But to this point in his career, he has not been that player. And throughout this regular season, he's not showed us that he's changed. And over the past couple of games, there's a lot of Leafs fans right now with a sour taste in their mouth about who this guy is and what he's going to be when it matters the most. So you know what, Six? I think there's a lot of other Leafs fans out there right now watching this guy out on the ice, watching this stream right now, in the chat right now, on Twitter, whatever it is, thinking the same thing and feeling the same way about that guy, having these nightmares, laying in bed, shaking at night, thinking that he's not going to show up when it matters the most. So yeah, when I talk about the guy who eats up $11 million of our salary cap and pisses it away, sitting on the bench, slamming his stick with a pouty face, yeah, there's going to be a little bit of frustration that creeps in. 100%. Show up. We'll see how it goes starting on Saturday. But based on the body of work that we've seen, that's the main takeaways right now, guys. That's where we're at. And I don't want to just go in on it here. Like, I was joking about the fact that he goes on to Matthews' line. Like, Matthews had a ton of opportunities, a ton of shots here tonight. He had a ton of shots last night. It's a lot of it is just bad luck that he isn't able to score there. They're obviously forcing him. Florida and Tampa are both teams as well that are just not going to want him to get to 70. So it is what it is. But as far as it goes with his level of play, the last two games have been concerning. Chris Arsenault there saying this rant can easily be about Willie. The one thing I would disagree with about William Nylander is that William Nylander has been the most consistent player in the playoffs every single year. William Nylander is the guy that I've looked at and was okay with signing him to that money because each year in the playoffs over the last little while, he's at least shown up. Like he's shown up and being able to put up points. He's being able to drive lines, and he was doing it at $6.9 million. This guy has a career year this year. He's out of his mind. He earns the contract. We know the cap's going up, and I fully expect him to just buzz this summer or this playoffs. I fully expect him to buzz. The last couple of games, Chris, for sure, fair enough. The guy was floating around with his cock in his hand like he had no care in the world, and he's done it for about the last month and a half. Like, this guy was just floating on a Sunday skate out there, feeling no ways about anything that was going on. So, Chris, you're for sure correct about that, and I'm going to have no pushback on that aspect. As for the playoffs, I just disagree because I think when he gets to the playoffs, he plays differently, and I think he's one of the most consistent guys of those four. Is he being good enough in terms of probably what we expect of him? No, but if you're going to look at all four of those guys, he's the one that I'm going to criticize the least because he's the one, to me, that has shown up the most. So that's my pushback on that. We got a couple more super chats here. Jeff McKay, thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. Jeff says, are we all ready for another playoff of Sheldon Keefe out coaching himself? What are the odds Marner and Matthews will be together again by game 3? If you're going to put betting odds on the idea that Marner and Matthews are going to be back together by line 3, thank you for the super chat, by the way, it's got to be favored. This guy is the horniest dude on the planet to turn on the blender and put those two back together. You know what? You could also probably bet on seeing very quickly into the series TJ Brody and Morgan Riley playing on a pair together, which I think is another reason why Leafs fans everywhere are shaking with nerves, sweating, having cold sweats at night about this guy being behind the bench with this group. Because I think they're the most playoff ready. I think separating the lines out and going 1, 2, 3 of this evenly spread attack, having them broken up that way, it changes things a lot. It gives you these different waves to attack another team. But you know what? Straight up, I think Sheldon Keefe just walks around shooting himself in the foot every chance that he can because he thinks, it seems at least, like he thinks he might be the smartest person in the world and is going to outthink the other coach when in reality he's just outthinking himself. And he's completely screwing himself over. We saw it last year against John Cooper. He gets kind of lucky because Tampa outplayed them. I think that he kind of just didn't really do that much to hurt himself. He didn't really do too much on the positive end, but it was just a neutral series for him. The years before that, I think that this Leafs team played really well, and yet Sheldon Keefe, he kind of shot himself in the foot in those series. He kind of fucked around and made some stupid decisions, deployed some guys the wrong ways, put some pairings together improperly. I think we saw a lot of mistakes out of him. I think that this guy is so stubborn in the sense of like, these guys work together, and the second that it doesn't work with something else, right back. You got to go back. You got to go back. We got to change it up. Mitch, Matthews, back together. Like, think about how quickly we see Nylander jump up onto the Matthews-Tavares, Marner-Tavares line over the last, like, week or two. I don't mind it, and I think in the playoffs it's a good option to have where you can have that guy jump up and you could have them join lines together and go out there if you need a goal, if you're late in a game, if you're trying to maintain a lead, or if you're really trying to push, you're tied, whatever it is. You could have those situations where Nylander jumps up and goes there. But Nylander is capable of driving a line, so he's fine on the third. Matthews, capable of driving a line. Domi and Bertuzzi are incredible wingmen to him. Marner can revive Tavares. You got to keep those guys separate. Yet at the exact same time, you're going to have Sheldon Keefe be like, ooh, we went through a first period where these guys didn't score. Put them back together. Go back to what we know. Like, that stuff's terrifying to Leafs fans. TJ Brodie has not been good this year. The consensus among Leafs fans, if you were to poll Leafs fans right now, which I could fire out in the chat here if you guys would want this, but like, you could poll Leafs fans at this point and be like, hey, how would you deploy your D pair? Most people are probably putting TJ Brodie in the press box, and yet Sheldon Keefe, at some point here, we're probably going to see him on the first pairing alongside Morgan Riley. It's abundantly clear at this point that this guy has really, really struggled this year. He's taken a mental confidence hit that has just hindered him for basically the entire season. He's not been able to get it back. He had like a 5 to 10 game stretch where it seemed like he might be figuring it out, and then since then, it's just fallen back off the cliff. You got to feel bad for the personal situations that he's dealing with, 100%. I cannot justify putting him in the lineup. I don't think he looked good here tonight. Good for him for breaking that goal drought. That's got to feel good, but there's just not much else positive with that. And I think a lot of Leafs fans look at them and think there's a good chance that those guys are going to get put back together. Another super chat. Super chat here from Mike Fammy. Mike, thank you very much for the super chat. Appreciate it. My God, it sounded like my building just got hit by a truck. Mike Fammy says, Zach, thank you for your Mitch, the bitch rant. I 100% agree with you. Mike, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I appreciate the super chat there. Yeah, I mean, you know what? There's probably going to be many more Mitch rants throughout the playoffs if he plays like what we saw in the last two games and if he plays like he does in the playoffs normally. Realistically, that's who they are. That's who he is, and that's kind of how things are going to happen. I know that Rosie is on the same page as me with a lot of it. I know that Nick's on the same page when it comes to a lot of how he plays. I know that there's a lot of other people who break things down in this game who are very aware of the fact that he's an extremely skilled player. You love to have a guy like that on your team who can do that kind of stuff, but he's lacking a lot of the other things that it takes to push himself to the next level of superstardom, to kind of get you over that hump and kind of carry a team, carry a line, drive a line. So there's concerns when it comes to that. And if he plays that way, these conversations, they're going to come up again. But Mike, thank you for the super chat. Another super chat. Zachary Pollock with the super chat there. Thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Appreciate you supporting the show, supporting the channel. Thank you very much. Kind of crazy name, crazy way to spell the name Zachary, though. I don't know. Like, CH? You got to throw in a K there, I think. You got to throw in a K into that. I don't know. I appreciate the super chat, though. Yeah, there was thunder outside the window. That it sounded insane. It sounded like something was rumbling this place. Mike Fammy, how much do you appreciate Simone Benoit? I love the fact that this guy's here in this lineup. I just think he's got to be utilized in a proper way. Yeah, he's got to play with Jake McCabe. Those two are very good together. They're very confident together. They seem like they play off of each other and they are able to read off of each other well. They've got good chemistry and trust each other. So at the end of the day, taking two players who can play a defensive style of hockey, are very physical, do not get pushed around, don't really panic with the puck that much. I think Simone Benoit, he's not great with it, but I feel like it's few and far between where he makes these what the hell are you doing type plays where he's just firing the puck into nothing. It seems like he's aware of his limitations where, hey, I'm not going to try to rush this puck up the ice and do too much with it. I know I'm not a skill guy, so I'm going to get this puck on my stick. I'm going to get it off my stick. I'm going to get this puck off my stick, and I'm just going to move it to the guy to the corner. I'm going to move it to my defense partner. I'm going to flip it up and out of the zone. And as much as I used to hate when we'd see these defensemen go back to the corner and just fire it off the glass and out, and you're kind of just giving away possession, when you know that your capabilities are limited offensively, but you can bring enough on the defensive side of things, I'm not going to be overly frustrated with what you're going to bring from going back into the corners, picking up the puck and just making a quick play up the ice. Transitioning things, I think he's pretty well aware of his capabilities, and I think that he's like really, really good when it comes to those other aspects. I love the fact that they go to the front and or he goes to the front and then just bullies people. Marchand's mom, troll in the chat there. When is the Rocket Richard Trophy Parade? Woo. This is a team that talks a lot of shit for not having done anything really in the last little while. So let's see. Let's go head to head here in the playoffs and see how this one breaks out there. But I mean, yeah, you won a Stanley Cup back in the early 2000s. 2010s. Congratulations, brother. 50 likes here on the stream. Appreciate everyone who's tuned in here tonight. If we get to 100, we'll do it again. But 50 likes means we got to break out the smelling salts. Thanks to everyone who's watching, subscribed, turned on notifications. We appreciate you guys. We appreciate you guys here on this channel. Thank you very much. Let's do the smelling salts. All right. There you go. Oh, my God. All right. Super chat here again. Super chat from Alex Strong. Thank you for the super chat. I'll do it because you sent it. Alex Strong, do a smelling salt again. All right, fine. Oh. Thank you for the likes. Thank you for the super chats. All right, keep it going. Thank you. Let's talk about William Nylander over the last month. I believe in William Nylander and his ability to turn it on. Not because... Here's why. One, we've seen him go into the playoffs each year and be one of the most reliable players, in my opinion, on this Leafs team. And be one of the guys that we can trust the most once we get there, who will be able to drive lines, who can take over at a given moment and say, we're going to put this team, this line on our back, and we're going to get it done. We're going to tie the game. We're going to take a lead, whatever. But I also feel like Willie is just one of the most unbothered players, and maybe I'm just too big of a fan of Nylander, his game, what he can bring, and letting that cloud judgment where I'm thinking, hey, he can do it because I believe he can do it. I believe this is the type of player he is. But truthfully, I think that Willie is one of those guys who can just tune everything out and say, whatever, that last game doesn't matter. The last 5 games doesn't matter. The fact that I didn't get 100, it doesn't matter. And he's just going to go into the playoffs and he's going to play William Nylander hockey and probably be pretty dangerous and pretty reliable. That being said, the play that he made on the puck that led to the Brandon Hagel goal to give the Tampa Bay Lightning the 5th goal of the game was so pathetic. Like, that was one of the most pathetic things I've ever seen on the NHL ice. Do you remember when we look back to the game against the Tampa Bay Lightning where the puck goes down into the corner and Nylander completely gave up on the puck? Completely gave up. And everyone watching him go after that puck put him on blast for being scared of the corner, scared of physicality, and scared of going and getting it. That was not a matter of being scared, so I'm not going to put that on him. It's not a matter of being not wanting to engage in physical play. That was the most disengaged, I don't want to be here play I've seen in so long. This guy high sticks the puck in the neutral zone, lollygags. That was a lollygagging play to high stick it there in the first place where he could have just kind of tried to chase it down, but okay, whatever. You knock it down by via high stick in the neutral zone. Puck goes back to the Tampa defenseman. He's not trying to touch it. He wants Nylander to touch it so that the whistle comes. And then he could just easily touch up the puck and call it a day. We also saw earlier Matthews, I believe it was a high stick that he made where he goes down and last night against Florida, it's a high stick that he makes. The puck goes and lands in front of Barkov. He just stands in front of Barkov and basically tests Barkov to say, like, if you're not going to touch this puck, the refs are going to yell at you. They're going to yell at us to both touch it. The draw is just going to be here because they'll just blow it dead and they'll call it. And they'll say, you could have touched it and you could have touched it. You're just delaying the game. There's no penalty. That's enough. Nylander, he could have just at least stood there. He could have just stood in front of the defenseman and said, all right, you're going to have to touch this one or else I am, or else the refs are going to yell at us. And he just disengages. He lollygags into the D. He lollygags away into the corner, and then he lollygags to the bench. And then the defenseman makes a pass up the ice right to makes the pass right up the ice, right to Hagel, cutting through the middle, splits the D and goes in. That's unacceptable. That play, that effort level, that level of disengagement from the game is so pathetic, and it's almost just better to just not play him if that's what he's going to do. I know that he's trying to get 100, but if he's just going to piss it away like that, no, don't even put him on the ice. Just don't put him on the ice. That was so pathetic. That was so embarrassing to see. It was so embarrassing to see that lack of interest in the game. He has also basically completely checked out over the last little while to a degree that I can't even begin to comprehend how you could do in an NHL game. Regardless of if the game means anything or not, to just not care about what the hell goes on, and it basically seems like this guy's not even bending his knees when he's out there. How can you do that? I hope he can turn it on. I believe he can turn it on. Regardless. Oh my God. This comment kind of has to do with the game tonight. And also kind of doesn't. But it's insane. Luke Fox Jukebox tweets 9 minutes ago. I'm just seeing this. Sheldon Keefe says he was studying video of the Bruins during intermission. let me be clear. I don't give a fuck that he's doing that. It's game 82. It means nothing, and you're the coach. That's fine. That's fine. You can do that. No one in the world cares about this game. We all knew that the Leafs didn't care. We all knew Tampa didn't care. There were two objectives. Matthews 70, Kucherov 100 assists. That was what both teams were looking for. The fact that this meathead goes out and puts on his fucking cape to make that comment is the stupidest, most market ignorant comment you could possibly make. This guy over the last week has just proven the lack of intelligence he has when it comes to the temperature of this fan base. Saturday night, the Detroit Red Wings. He plays Matthews for basically 24 minutes of that game. He plays him for like the last 3.5 minutes of the third period consecutively. Everyone knows he's trying to get Matthews to 70. The whole building in their last home game wants Matthews to get to 70, is pushing for it, is getting on their feet, is going nuts for this guy to get 70. A couple of things. I've been in the building a few times. I've been lucky enough to be in the building a few times over the last couple of years since Matthews has been playing here. I've barely heard that place be as loud and as excited and have as much pop as when Auston Matthews scores goals. It is electric when he scores goals. That building wanted so badly for a player on their team to score 70 goals and hit that milestone and see it on home ice. And for that goofball behind the bench to go out for his post-game press conference and say that the fans were a distraction to the team. How stupid do you have to be to utter those words publicly? Obviously, it was a distraction. No shit. Everyone in the world wanted him to get to 70. Everyone. The fans were dying for it. Media is dying for it. The teammates were dying for it. That was the entire purpose of the end of the game. No one cared if they won or lost. The only team that was interested in the end result was the Detroit Red Wings. And then that idiot goes out into the post game and says, the fans were a distraction. The fans that get criticized endlessly for being quiet and not engaged in the game, they were a distraction. It was a cause to distraction. That's outrageous. And then here tonight, to just double down on idiotic post-game statements and to say that you were studying Bruins film between games. How stupid do you gotta be to say that? Just why? Why? Like, why does that have to be the thing that you say when you come out publicly after the game? Just keep that to yourself. Take the cape off, guy. No one needs a hero. Study it on the plane on the way home. Study it sitting in your locker room after the game while you're waiting for the boys to shower. Study it on the bus from the rink to the airport. Study it tomorrow. Study it on Friday. Study it all day on Saturday. To say you were studying it in between periods, why do you have to say that? I'm not mad that he was doing that. No one cares. You could do that. That's fine. It's just the public image that you continue to push out there about what your lack of awareness of how the fan base handles these things. Just insane for this guy. Like, who cares? Who cares? It's like he does this to try to make himself seem better, and it just shoots himself in the foot constantly. It's the same things that he does with decisions that he's making away, during playoffs and in-game decisions. Lack of awareness with some of it. Don't get it. Cannot understand some of that stuff. All right. TJ Brodie snaps 110-game goal drought tonight. Would you prefer an assist 100%? I don't think TJ Brodie was shooting that puck to score. I think TJ Brodie was shooting that puck so that he could get a tip in front. I guarantee that was what he was doing. If you're watching right now and you haven't already, please hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, turn on notifications so you get notified every single time we go live. We're going to have post-game streams in the playoffs here. Our next one for the live that's going to be coming up is going to be Saturday night. We'll talk about it after the final buzzer of the Leafs-Bruins game, which is going to go at 8 p.m., I believe, was what I saw Saravelli tweet out earlier today. I always spell his name wrong. Good. There we go. He tweeted out the first round game. So if you're looking Friday, we're going to get Islanders, Canes, or Saturday, excuse me. We're going to get Islanders, Canes, 5 p.m., Leafs, Bruins, 8 p.m. Then on Sunday, we're going to get Tampa, Florida at 12:30 and Capitals, Rangers at 3. That's how this is going to shake out when we get to the playoffs for Saturday. So Leafs game 8, that means the post game will likely start at about 10:45 on Saturday night. I don't have too much else for tonight's game. I'll just kind of rip through some of the other stuff I have. I see 6 and 3rd hit like despite all the raging. I mean, you got to be the most optimistic Leafs fan in the world, 6. You got to be the most optimistic Leafs fan in the world. I want this team to win just as much as anybody else, but to just act like this is sunshine and rainbows and everything's going to be perfect is, I think, a little bit delusional. I wouldn't mind what you're smoking. Mike Fammy, Zack or Chad, any of you going to the tailgate party at Maple Leaf Square Saturday? I will not be. I will be glued to my couch yelling about this Leafs team, likely, whether positively or negatively. That's how that'll go. But we'll buzz. We'll be here for the post-game stream after. I don't know about anyone else in the chat. Yeah, for tonight's game, that Nylander play, that one was extremely frustrating. The first goal that was scored by Nick Paul, where I'm looking at with that is bad turnover by Bertuzzi in the slot. It's no look. I don't think that's gonna happen in the playoffs, but I think that's something you got to eliminate from your game, and I would rather you not allow some of these bad habits to creep in. I would rather you not have some of those stupid plays, but to just see the way that one unfolded was like, oh, that's lazy. That's not pretty, and it ends up in the back of your net because bad play by Bertuzzi, turning that one over in the slot. It goes to Duclair. Nick Paul drives the back of the net, and TJ Brodie completely out to lunch. No idea where his man is. No idea where Nick Paul is. Much like Dylan Larkin, his goal, he's just kind of standing there while players on the other team are around in dangerous positions. That puck goes tape to tape, hits his stick, and into the back of the net. Game. That's your first goal of the game, and it just sets the tone for we don't care, and we are positionally out to lunch, at least TJ Brodie. So, unfortunate. I want to give kudos, though, to Ryan Reeves, at least, and that fourth line, because as much as this team kind of threw in the towel and said, let's just get the hell out of the rest of this season, we don't want to be here, we don't want to play anymore, we don't want to do this, the fourth line has been very good basically since January on. The fourth line has been really, really intense. They've been attentive to detail. They're pretty locked in defensively, and they're creating offensive opportunities, because even if they're not just coming out there and scoring the goals themselves, they're going in and creating offensive pressure that ends up holding the opposing team into their zone. It creates chaos. It wears down that line. It can cause them to take to take icings, which lead to faceoffs in their zone, which then you can put out the Matthews line, you can put out the Tavares line. Like, you can play that however you want after. And when you take in how these guys are going out and utilizing the minimal amount of minutes that they have, they've been taking advantage of it, and they have been just playing smart, simple hockey. They're going to get burned every now and then, guys. It's going to happen. But we cannot call these guys like reasons that this team is going to lose games. We cannot blame it on them. And they're physically imposing, putting their physical will on these other teams. They're taking over other teams when it comes to the offensive zone down below the goal line. And then you're able to score some goals here and there. You get another goal here tonight from Ryan Reeves, a guy who was pretty much like dismissed at the beginning of the year, a guy who wasn't even going to be ever playing for this Leafs team again. And now all of a sudden he's just solid, a part of this lineup, and a guy that I think you're going to have a hard time taking out. Good for him, man. Really good for him. That fourth line tonight, like, you want to look at pluses and minuses on the night. Reeves, +1. David Kampf, +1. Dewar, +1. The only other guys on this team who were plus tonight, Tavares, +1. And Connor Timmins, fucking +2 somehow. But, like, you know, your big boys, minuses. Everyone else in the middle, zeros. Just evens. Fourth line, plus. That's a good night for them, man. They score a goal. They finish plus on the night. Kudos to them. Mike, Zack, who do you see being on the fourth line come Saturday? Does Yarncroke join that line, or does he join the third line? I think he joins the third line. I think the fourth line you go back to with some combination of Kampf, Dewar, Reeves, and then the third line you figure everything else out. I'm still not a big fan of Nick Robertson, but it just seems like with some of the goals he's been able to score lately, he's fighting his way into this lineup. Good for him. Good for him. All right, let's get out of here with a couple more things before we finish this one up and wrap up tonight's show for the final regular season game of the 2023-2024 season. Let's get to, well, as I do this as well, make sure to hit that like button. We could still get to 100 likes here on tonight's stream. I wouldn't mind that, so please hit that like button. And Dom, give us a prediction. I will, but you're going to have to catch me giving a prediction on Leafs Morning Take on Friday morning. I believe Friday morning. At some point before the playoffs, I'll be joining the boys over on Leafs Morning Take. So check that out. Predictions not coming here. You're going to have to tune into the morning shows. You're going to have to turn on notifications. You're going to have to subscribe to the channel, because I'm going to be hopping on with Nick and Rosie at some point here ahead of the playoffs. That's where you could likely find me giving a prediction, and all of us giving some predictions. I don't want to do it here tonight. I want to think things through. I want to make sure I got a good head on my shoulders before I go out there and just give an idea about what's going on. Let's get to our play of the game. Play of the game, there's not much to me that was really that great for this Leafs team tonight. I got to give it to the Ryan Reeves goal. It's a dominant fourth line shift. They put pressure on Tampa. You cause turnovers behind there, behind the net. It goes to David Kampf, who's able to come out around the corner, and Ryan Reeves gets himself into a little bit of open space and is able to bury the one-timer. Good for him, man. Good for him. Getting another goal in the last game of the season, a game that you know, everyone kind of just didn't care. But Reeves is a guy who was written off this year. Reeves was a guy who was out of the lineup, and we thought we may never see wearing a Leafs uniform again, whether he was going to be buried into the minors, if he was going to be traded, whatever it was going to be. We thought there's a chance this guy never plays for the Toronto Maple Leafs. And over the last couple of months, this guy has been so valuable to the locker room. You see the emotion that he draws out of these guys when he fights, when he wins fights, when he sticks up for his teammates. You see Austin Matthews on the bench jumping up there tonight when he scores that goal. Like, that guy being around the team has very clearly helped with some of the camaraderie, bringing these guys together and actually giving a shit about each other. I want to give it to them because I feel like the fourth line here tonight this is game 82, and where I was at the beginning of the season to where I'm at with these guys now, Reeves was unplayable. David Kampf stunk. Connor Dewar wasn't here, but Noah Gregor was like the only guy that I was looking at like, hey, that guy, he's got some speed. He's got something positive to his game that maybe we'll like. You know what? At the end of the season, unfortunately for Gregor, it's flipped the other way where I just don't see him being a part of this lineup. I would rather him not be a part of this lineup. No offense to him, but just from a playoffs and ability to win standpoint, not all in on him. Ryan Reeves has become like this beloved character by the fan base, whether it's from his post-game media, if it's from him beating the wheels off of guys, finishing checks, but he's just not a liability anymore, and it feels like. David Kampf, he's turned things around. Connor Dewar, he's been a great addition to that lineup. So good for that fourth line for turning things around, being a line that can be trusted by Sheldon Keefe and this coaching staff to go out there in certain situations. I've enjoyed watching them play. It's kind of fun to watch them play. And you get on the board here tonight. Again, good for them. Two honorable mentions for play of the game. One honorable mention is Pontus Holmberg goal. That was disgusting. Just out of nowhere, disgusting. Pontus Holmberg, there's a turnover caused. Nick Robertson keeps the play alive, keeps the puck into the zone. Makes the pass down to Holmberg, and Holmberg does the most nonchalant little shoulder shimmy move and goes short side tit past Matt Tompkins. It's a meaningless goal, obviously, but like kind of nasty. So I'll give him that just because of how sick the goal was. And then the other one is going to be the one that Matthews had where he gets the pass from Liljegren on the stretch right between the D, or between one of the D beside another one. He goes in one hand, puts it, flips, goes across over the guy, falls down to his knees, stands back up, and then rips bar from the slot. That's the best chance that he had at 70. And if he scores that goal, you go out there on the ice, you take all of his gear off, you take the puck, and you just put that in the Hall of Fame next to a hologram of him scoring that goal over and over and over again, because that would be a disgusting goal no matter what. But to do that for 70, if he were to have done that, you stop the game and you say, thank you for everyone watching. Thanks to everyone on TV. We need to take a 10-minute break to take Matthews' gear. We're gonna ship this one back to Toronto right now so that it doesn't get interfered with. And Matthews is gonna have to go and put new gear on to come back out and continue the shift, because that was insane. If he scored that goal, that would have been the greatest 70 of all time. Disgusting. He didn't. It's unfortunate. He finishes at 69. It is what it is. My play of the game, Ryan Reeves goal. Keep hitting like. Let's see if we can get to 100 here. Final thing we got to get to. You guys send it in the chat. I want to see what you think about tonight. But grades of the game.
Answers? I think I'm entitled.
You want answers?
I want the truth!
You can't handle the truth!
One thing here quickly as well. There is a super chat from Tammy Marin. 100 likes equals double fist smelling salts. If you get 18 more likes before I finish grades and a final send off, then sure, I'll double fist some smelling salts. I've got a couple bottles here, so you get to 100 before we're done. Fine, we'll do that, Tammy. Thank you for liking the stream. Thank you for the super chat. Grade of the game. Send yours in the chat. I want to see what you guys say. This is like a D+. I know that they came back and made it 6-4 at the end of the game. That was so pathetic. Tampa obviously didn't give a shit anymore either. Like, they were just trying to get out of there. They dominated the Leafs for 40 minutes. They basically took it to them for a little bit in the third there, and then they got Kucherov his 100th assist, and they said, thanks for having us, we're out. Like D+, I don't know. It's just ugly. There was no effort. There was no intensity. You don't get 70. Good for JT getting on the board, but Willie not engaged. You didn't see a playoff lineup here. No Riley, no Edmondson, no McCabe. Like, this was just so ugly. The whole time, I just wanted to turn it off, but I'm like, obviously, we got to do the postgame. We got to talk about everything that happened. There was nothing enjoyable about tonight. Nothing enjoyable. The fact you didn't get 70 as well just completely adds to the whole thing and just ruins it as well. So unfortunate. D+, I guess. That sucks. Well, it is what it is. That's going to pretty much do it for tonight's stream. I don't have anything else about this game. As for everything, talking about what's going to happen coming up into the playoffs, maybe some predictions and stuff, you guys got to watch Leafs Morning Take. You got to watch Leafs Morning Take. It's every morning here, Monday through Friday at 11 a.m., breaking down the games from the night before. They're looking at upcoming games. They've got guests on the show. I'll be hopping in there from time to time. Those boys are going to be coming on my show. We saw Nick last night. We'll see Rosie at points here throughout the playoffs as well. Carter Hutton, hopefully Anthony Stewart are able to come on and jump onto the show, break things down with us after games. There's going to be a lot of Leaf people coming through here to help give their perspective. Former players, analysts, media members for a long time. They're going to be joining into these streams and the post games and helping me break things down. So it's not just my dumbass that you're hearing nonstop talking about everything. You're going to hear from other smart people as well here on this channel. You should be subscribed. But on top of that, you're going to hear those smart people every Monday through Friday at 11 a.m. breaking down everything going on. As well, we are so close to the playoffs. We're about to kick things off. And a lot of you out there, you haven't gone and got your exclusive Bleed Blue merch yet. You see Nick rocking it on the show last night. You see him rocking a new one this morning on this morning's show. You got to get your Bleed Blue merch, and the best and only way to get that is at nationgear.ca. Head over to nationgear.ca. No matter what team you're supporting, you're going to get your exclusive playoff merch, your exclusive Bleed Blue merch. You're going to want to be ready for the playoffs. You want to be geared up. You want to be rocking your Leaf stuff. And if you want to support us here, you can head over to nationgear.ca to get yourself geared up. So head on over there to get your exclusive Bleed Blue merch. Check that out. Final thing I'll say here before we go into the playoffs. Obviously made a jump over here at some point. If you were watching this channel previously and you didn't know who I was, at some point you probably turned on, you saw a notification come up on your phone that there was an After Dark show going on. And you sat there and said, what the fuck is this? Who is this guy who comes on here and just talks to the chat and talks to people the whole time and takes random callers and has these guests every now and then and breaks down games and goes nuts here and there? Well, a couple of years ago, I decided I would start doing this for fun. Somehow people found the channel and thought, you know what? This guy maybe knows what he's talking about. And if you don't think I do, then you at least found me entertaining. And regardless of what you thought about if I knew what I was saying or if I was entertaining or a combination of both, you continue to watch. And I appreciate that because it led me to the opportunities that I've had where, you know, I got an opportunity to jump over to a channel like this and have you guys continue to support, have you guys here in the chat. So for all of you who have found me for the first time this year, who are maybe watching this channel, who had no idea who I was and found me for one show and you stuck around and you kept watching, or those of you who found me from my old channels and found me and followed me across from one to the next and into here, thank you guys for following along. Thank you guys for subscribing and continuing to show support, for calling into the streams, for the likes, for the super chats, for all of that, because this has just continued to be an incredible experience. I'm having an absolute blast doing this every single night after these Leafs games. So thank you guys so much for giving me this opportunity. Thanks for helping me get to this point in my career. Hopefully we just continue to bring this up and up and up and continue to blow up the channel and continue to blow up everything going on here. So thank you guys very much for the support. I do appreciate it. This has been an incredible experience, and I can't wait to see what happens in the playoffs, because I thought, and you guys think you're sickos for the regular season, wait until you see myself, and I see you guys when it comes to the most important time of the year. And that'll all be starting Saturday night right here following the first game against the Boston Bruins. 8 p.m. puck drop, likely a 10:45 start time for the post-game stream. That's going to do it for tonight's stream. This has been game number 82. The end of the regular season for the Toronto Maple Leafs 2023-2024 year against the Tampa Bay Lightning, losing this one 6-4, moving to 46, 26, and 10 on the year. Thank you so much for watching. See you Saturday. Keep it.